Bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Drexel Free Thought Society Weekly Podcast. This is our second portion, the chat portion, which is all about you guys. Please feel free to call in on our Skype account at Drexel Free Thought. Just type it into Skype. You people know how to do that. And I'm trying to move stuff to get the thing going. Get in on that, call us, and we'll put you right on. But other than that, we're going to start discussing what it is, not really what it's like to raise atheist children, because I don't think any of us have done that, but what it would be like issues around raising children, not really raising them atheists, but raising them without a religion.
Or even born atheists in the first place.
I've thought about this quite a bit, actually. It's that's why I was so excited for this podcast.
Then begin.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I feel like even though you're not raising your child in a religion, your children should still be religiously literate. If that makes sense. They should know, almost like a comparative
awareness
religion class. Yes. Because that's how the world works. That's how, it's such a big part. If they're going to understand the creationist debates or etc., in school, they have to understand, about the Adam and Eve stuff. Or, it's just that, if they want to understand, I'm sorry to bring this up because I know it, really ticks you off, but if they want to understand, why Islamic extremists do what they do, they have to be, a little bit literate in the Islamic faith. It's all relevant.
Yeah, can I put in 2 words?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Two words?
Okay, my 2 words.
You said so many more than 2 words.
Shut up! Okay, anyway, I think it's really hard to raise children. In any setting, whether it be religious or non-religious. So I think the best thing you can do is try to be open with your child and try, if children ask questions, give them answers. Don't be like, oh, I'm the parent, therefore you're going to do whatever I say. Answer their questions.
So, you see, from just that seems like I would venture, without any credibility whatsoever, that is part of the origin of religion. Is just people having no idea how to raise children, and this is much simpler.
Because, if
I'm just saying, hey, stop drinking out of that straw. Because if you drink out of that straw, you're going right to hell.
If you
see, it's easy. It's a shortcut to raising children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Please don't take any shortcuts. Actually answer the questions. Raise them to be, I would say, kind of like a scientist, where they question, they go out there, and they don't just blindly believe in everything. They actually learn how to question. And send them to school. Because I know a lot of people that are I'm not sending my child to school. I'm going to homeschool them. I'm going to do whatever I want. That's a horrible thing to do. Your child needs an education in order to live successfully in this world, in my opinion. And I'm sure you guys agree as well.
Yeah, even though our educational system is terrible.
Well, it's something.
Yeah.
And you are learning,
learning.
Regurgitating.
I really just believe, homeschooling, unless you have, a really good... the one example I can think of that was possibly a good reason for doing it was there was a kid in my community who was homeschooled because his IQ was just so much higher than the rest of the kids. Even the gifted program couldn't, adequately take care of him. So, and, with homeschooling, he was able to, start,
breeze through courses that he would have dragged. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, in that case, but, if you're doing it, for the reason most people do it, which is which is to just present, creationist theories, etc. Please stop. Please stop. Please send your kids to school.
So if anyone at the internet people have heard of the movie Jesus Camp, the very beginning of it, actually, is all about that.
I know.
It's the one quote from that movie that sticks out in my head was, it was the mother that was teaching her son, and she was like, did you read the part about how science doesn't prove anything?
I remember that.
And it's miseducation. And it's as close to child abuse without actually being child abuse that I think you can have.
It is child abuse.
Maybe.
It is.
I mean, I guess, if you want to, as much as I guess if you want to raise your kid in your faith, I don't personally agree with it, but there's really nothing I can do about it. But homeschooling is just to a whole nother level. Homeschooling is just, oh my gosh, okay.
And the children don't learn social interaction if they're homeschooled.
Precisely.
And then later on in life, they're going to struggle when you go out into the work world. It's all socializing. In order to...
It's like, especially now, to even get a job, you have to be extremely personable.
And you have to be, and you're basically, you keep your kids, like, stuck in this bubble. They never get to meet kids who are, like, different from them, different religion, different, race, different... whatever, like, unless you, like, adopted your kids from, like, a bunch of different countries, like Angelina Jolie or something like that. But, like,
it's hard because...
You have to let them be exposed to stupid people.
Yeah, like let them, meet other people and say, like, okay, maybe I don't particularly like this person, but I have to work with them. That is an important skill to learn.
Yeah.
There was, can I go?
Yeah.
Talk a little louder.
There is a quote by Richard Dawkins, and I don't remember it quite, but I'll paraphrase it. If you, or maybe that wasn't Richard Dawkins, maybe it was Bill Nye, but I'm not sure. But it was more like,
they're both good.
If you believe in Christianity or you believe in creationism, sure, go ahead, believe in it, but don't teach your kid that.
That was Bill Nye.
And that's exactly what I think, because, but that doesn't even just go with creationism. That just goes with a political belief, a religious belief, any kind of belief that you can put yourself into.
I don't think that you shouldn't do it. But I'm saying, it's okay to teach your child, this is what I believe, but don't be, forceful about it. You can tell,
one second. Actually, no, keep going, sorry.
That's pretty much what I was going to say. Don't be forceful about it. You can tell them, this is what I believe in, this is what a lot of other people believe in, but don't shove it down their throat.
Ellen from the chat actually brings it up exactly what you just said. It's like you should raise them you should not raise their child to be only your faith, but you should allow them the opportunity to experience everything. Teach them I can't scroll up for some reason, but it's like open-minded plus general education. Come on, go up to the top. You can do it, tiny scroll bar. Oh, whatever. The general idea was that say, this is what I believe, this is what your father believes, this is what your mother believes, this is what your uncle believes, and other people believe other things. Isn't that interesting? It's one of those sort of situations.
Right.
It's just like allow the child to experience different things and see it again.
And that's how why I have issues with I was baptized in the Catholic Church. When you're in the Catholic Church, when you are baptized, you are a baby. You cannot even talk. You cannot say, yes, I want to do this, or no, I do not want to do this.
This goes into the Richard Dawkins bit. Can I do it?
Sure.
There is no such thing as a Christian child or a Jewish child.
Yes.
When you hear anyone call a Christian child or a Jewish child, a Muslim child, it should feel and sound like nails going down a chalkboard. There is no such thing. There are only child of Christian or Muslim parents. Children are not old enough to make their own decisions on the matter. They don't have the mental capacity to make these sort of judgments. It wouldn't make any sense. It would make just as much sense to call them a Keynesian child, or a Marxist child, or in our country, a Republican child, or a Democrat child.
My child's gonna be Republican.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying. The general feel of it is we all kind of agree that children, especially that young, aren't old enough to make their decision on economics. So why are we allowed to do that with religion?
That's I remember.
I butchered that quote like crazy, but that's the feeling.
I remember when the movie The Da Vinci Code came out.
I love the Da Vinci Code.
I've actually never read it or seen it or whatever, but whatever. I remember there was some controversy in some country. I think maybe China or something. And in some country they said children of certain age, I forget what the cutoff was. They're you're not allowed to go see it because you're not old enough to comprehend what this film is presenting to you or whatever. And I remember my dad said something Well, if you go to church, at that age, you're not really old enough to comprehend.
I forget who this was, but it was some like high up religious person from a long time ago, and it was like, "You bring me the boy, and I'll give you the man," which is kind of the idea: is you give me the child, and I will make it a religious man. And now with the new like pedophilia scandal, that quote has a lot of different meanings.
Oh boy.
Anyway, Richard.
I have a Lenin quote to go on to that. I know how
John
you were
Lennon
saying,
or Vladimir?
Vladimir. Yeah.
His name was
favorite
Vladimir?
guy.
Okay.
That guy, he also said that give me a child for a week. Give me a child for a week, he will become a socialist. Give me him for a year, he will become communist. And that's sort of like what it does with the religion thing. Now, another thing is that I think that if you are going to raise your child in any ideology because you believe it or somebody else believes in it or something else like that, it is child abuse. It's child abuse. And here's why. The one thing that I really like about children that annoys a lot of people is that they keep on asking why. Why? Eventually you just want to shut them up, right? Well,
most parents do.
Yeah, I, on the other hand, would keep on answering their questions.
Keep answering them until they get tired and go away.
Yes.
That's impossible.
But that's what you're supposed to do. And
once you and your child are dabbling in the very creation of cosmic forces, I think it's time for bed.
Then, well, I mean, you don't know. If you don't know, you can just say, I don't know. Don't claim to know, because then if you claim to know, they'll think that you have all the answers.
But you're the parent. You have to be powerful and above your children. Your children must respect and obey your parents.
Yes, because that's what happens. Because, if your child asks you a question that you literally don't know, you should say, I don't know. Because you shouldn't be seen as like an all-knowing deity or anything else like that.
Pretty much.
Those are my 2 words.
Why is it like you saying 2 words when you're speaking more than 2 words?
And people keep offering me their 2 cents, and I haven't gotten any money.
Yeah.
That was my 25 cents.
Where? I demand a quarter.
I demand a milkshake.
I bought you a milkshake.
Give me another one.
Free Thought Society, we have the milkshake wars, everybody.
I'm not involved.
We love milkshakes.
Speak for
Who
yourself.
doesn't?
We don't endorse fatty foods here.
We
just all really enjoy them.
No, but you can make healthy milkshakes too.
I suppose. Isn't like one of the ingredients like cream?
Coal tar.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Potatoes.
Ice cream and cream.
You
Heavy
should,
cream.
you
We're not
should
talking
mash
about
the
milkshakes.
potatoes
Okay.
and put them in the milkshake.
But as far as the
Doesn't
idea,
have as much impact as you.
as far as the idea of atheist parenting goes, I have sometimes wondered this. When I think I most likely will get married at some point in my life, and I most likely will have kids. I have wondered this, like, if the person who I fall in love with happens to be a Christian, how are we going to do that, like, with our kids? Because I'm not okay with raising your kids in a Christian, like, strictly in the Christian faith. Like, or Muslim, or
that's something
Jewish,
you have to talk about.
Oh, actually kind of answered it for me. Like, so jumping off your outburst, my hand was raised.
I'm a girl.
Generally, in those kind of situations, just in the same way that if your husband wanted to live in an apartment forever and you wanted a house, these are things you talk about before you get a house or an apartment.
Or have children.
So, like, there's always this stigma about having big conversations with someone that you're dating.
Mm-hmm.
That's complete bullshit. And that's me talking.
I'm just really
Language.
afraid to have conversations with people and, like, have your feelings hurt.
I completely understand, but once you get with somebody that you trust is actually in it for the long haul, then have those big conversations. Be like, what would you do if we had kids? What kind of dog would you like? Do you like dogs? Where would you want to live? Is your career important to you? These are questions you do before you get married.
Not after.
Or not necessarily if you don't even feel like getting married. before you move in together,
Right.
before you have children. You need to have big conversations, and you need to get them clear-cut, honest answers, because...
I suggest bringing a notebook.
I do suggest bringing a notebook and a tape recorder.
If that happened, most people would never stay together too long.
I disagree.
No, I think a lot of bad couples wouldn't get together.
Possible.
And then people would be like, oh, so we didn't work out. Yep, apparently we have different ideas in life.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. I hope I never see you again.
Yeah, get it
It's
early.
like, the thing that causes the problem is when you have an illusion of what you think your relationship is going to be, and then it continually gets shattered.
Yep.
And that's why you can't let that happen, and you have to
Right.
be brutally honest all the time, forever.
Right.
Because it does, like, and this becomes especially hard with a religious person dating a non-religious person, or two different religions dating. It can totally work. I have no idea how. But if you can make that work, and if it just isn't a big deal to you or the person, then that's fine. But you do have to bring up.
I think I heard a
like-
story one time of like a rabbi who married like a preacher or something like.
Rabbi married a preacher? Wow.
Yeah, like
I was
like,
No, if they can do it, okie dokie. But you have to if you are going to be in a long relationship that intend to have children, then you have to talk about the things having to do with children.
Here's the kicker: it was a gay marriage.
Anyway, yeah, gay marriage makes it. I wouldn't even.
How does that make it any different?
I guess it really doesn't.
It doesn't.
I guess it makes it. Well, because we live in this country, you'd have to travel. But other than that, but that's pretty much it.
okay.
But
okay.
when it comes
That's
to
fair.
when it comes to like, I'll flat out say I could never date someone of any religion.
Okay.
It just
You couldn't date someone what?
of any religion at all.
Not even if they were really pretty.
I don't care.
Fugwa, maybe?
Especially, I don't like extremely hairy people.
What about spiritual but not religious?
Doesn't make that is bullshit.
Language.
Not exactly.
You keep on
I'm
breaking the
sorry,
language
damn it.
rule.
Damn it, stop cursing.
Spiritualism can actually relate to science in a lot of
All
ways.
spiritualism is I believe in some kind of religion that's ill-defined, or I don't feel like defining it.
Well, that's basically-
Spiritualism doesn't mean anything to me.
No, well, spiritual could actually mean that you're very scientific and you see things a very scientific way.
It's a loose
Couldn't
term.
Then
It usually
why
means
would
cherry
you?
picking.
Then I would just ask the person, why are you using spiritualism?
Well, if I'm thinking that the whole collective consciousness thing, a lot of people will call that spiritual, even though I can actually back that up with science in some way.
I strongly disagree. But anyway.
I say it's a form of hedonism.
Is that spiritual or
Sure.
something?
I say spirituality is a form of hedonism.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but probably a lot of it is. But it's just it's ill-defined words, and I don't like ill-defined words.
Well, I don't believe in water memory. That's
So no.
ridiculous.
Because if I hear spiritual but not religious, I'm just like, all right, what?
What was I gonna say?
Milkshakes.
Yes, that is.
No more milkshakes,
The
no more
one
cheese.
other
My
thing that I
milkshake
kind of
is so
struggle
much better
with,
than yours.
as an atheist,
Like
is
milkshake.
that I do not like most religions have like kind of like life ceremonies kind of built into them. Like, for example, most religions have some sort of like thing, like when you turn 13 or 14 or whatever, like, you know, they have a thing like
That's an ownership thing.
like you know, like they have a thing like, oh, you know, you're growing
Yeah.
up or whatever. Or
It's,
like
it's a thing
you know,
that
and-
it's the same. I'm just gonna interrupt.
Mhm.
It's the same kind of thing of like baptizing the child. It's keeping it in the religion.
Mhm.
It's like you can't become a man unless you follow our rules.
And you know, weddings obviously and funerals, like and
I can name two different people with different organizations that can give completely secular weddings
Really?
and funerals.
Okay.
If
Okay.
I ever do get married, I want both of them to do my wedding.
Because I've always wondered.
It's Hugh and Margaret.
I've always wondered that, you know. I remember I read a book one time where this friend of somebody died and they were an atheist, and instead of like actually getting like, you know, something that really would have honored what he would have wanted, they had all these relatives who hadn't spoken to in years come back and like say like, oh, he's in with Jesus now, and something like, you know, like I would hate for something like
No,
that.
I'm totally gonna have like a dying testament. It's just gonna be like, if you're religious, get out. I won't be that cruel, but it'll just
So
be like,
I can't come to your funeral?
oh, I'm gonna outlive you. I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to be that rude about it, but it's just like, this is how I felt to the last moments of my life. If any of you misinterpret it,
Are you gonna be like?
I'm going to be pointing accusingly at them.
Are you gonna be like Richard Dawkins with like the tape recorder and like at your bed?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll have a video pointed at my face and be like, yep, I'm dying, and this is how I feel about stuff. If you say different, you're lying.
I want to have a physicist come to my funeral and say that I'm in the universe and I'm still here. I'm just a little less orderly.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But I see what you're saying is like, and this is a whole different subject that I get into a whole lot with people, is religion co-ops things. We've had funerals, weddings, birth things, teenage things, since people existed.
Yeah.
Even if it's something stupid. If it's just kind of like, you had a kid? Here's a turnip. It's just kind of like, everyone has always had traditions. And,
Right.
and religious groups have co-opted them and say, these belong to us.
Right.
And Christianity is the worst. It's just saying, like, we own marriage. It's like, no, you don't.
Everyone gets married.
No, like, the easiest one is like, I think it was like,
Well, depending on what state you're in, yeah.
no, it's like Native Americans, elaborate, beautiful ceremonies, especially for funerals, and those are well before any Christian white folk came over.
Right.
And also, just to point out, Native Americans loved, not all of them, but a lot of tribes adored gay people. And no, they were considered twin souls or
Yeah.
true souled because they were able to love everybody. They weren't just because they were like physically attracted to something, but because they were the other. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I read an article on that.
It's wonderful. They were cool with it, and then Christian white folk ruined everything.
It's funny how Christians like to say that Christianity is actually, marriage is actually a Christian thing, because before then, marriage never meant anything to deal with love or relationships.
Oh yeah, it was a fiscal transaction.
Oh yeah.
You
pay I'll pay you money. You take my daughter. Like
No, that's exactly how it
Yeah.
was, and it was especially among like the aristocrats. It was like, now let's merge our families together by having these two people get married.
Yeah.
And
Peace treaty.
people
And
that
there
were
was
aristocrats.
dowry. Who has dowries anymore? That used to be the
Not
ox over
kidding.
roast or hand. No, it's because I'm sorry, Ox, but you're being sold.
I'm being sold?
Yes, you are. Well, you're not going to be married, so not yet.
Not yet. All my aunts got sold.
We'll figure out how much you're worth. You know, if you're
I'm
worth
worth at
a lot,
least
then that's good.
20 million.
It's like I'm worth at least 4 goats.
It's funny. Well,
Did you say coats or
this
goats?
is terrible. This is
What are you gonna do with
terrible.
4 coats? That's just silly.
The same thing about slavery. It's like, ha ha ha. The slave master wants me first. I'm better than you, babushka. That'll be horrible.
That's Richard from the corner. Anyway. Actually, Ellen in the chat brings up an interesting thing, is she didn't entirely understand why anyone else got married, because it was always associated marriage with church. Yes, exactly. And this is especially bad with childhood things, which is just like, marriage is not just a thing between a man and a woman, it's for the express purpose of having children. It's, you're supposed to bring more children into the world. And it's just such nonsense.
And Jews aren't allowed to marry non-Jews because they're trying to keep they're trying to keep
Jews alive.
They were trying to keep Jews alive, and they're trying to
Not
keep
Jews
the,
alive, Judaism alive.
Pretty much,
they're trying to keep the tribe of Israel. I believe it's called the tribe of Israel, and they have this whole religious thing where everyone who's a true son of Israel or a true son or daughter of Israel will come back to Israel and be lifted up back into
I forget how much it costs now, but to actually be on that mountainside where Jesus is supposed to show up, to be buried there, is like the most absorbent amount of money ever.
Oh, and
Who
another
owns
thing
it?
is that
Yeah,
I'm not talking
Israel.
about. Another thing I'm not talking about. What's it called? The one thing where Jews believe that Israel is their land and blah blah blah.
The homeland?
No, the
Dome of the Rock, Israel.
Hey, Dome of
they're
Rock is mine.
Zionism actually. A lot of people don't know about this, but Zionism has nothing to do with the religion itself, and it all has to do with politics. So just to get that across.
Alright, just to shift back to parenting, I did want to bring up to people that are listening, and people that may listen in the future, there are two websites that are excellent in this, that go into like how to actually raise a child without a religion. There's www.atheistparents.org and raisingfreethinkers.com. One of them, Parenting Without Religion, is an excellent book, and
Parenting Beyond Belief.
Parenting Beyond Belief, I think, is another one. They're very good resources. I haven't gone too much into them myself because, surprise, surprise, I'm not looking to start a family. But
Is that anytime soon, or is that like ever?
not anytime soon. I think
At
it
least it's not
would
ever.
complicate things.
Little David. Did you say
Little
cute?
David?
Little David.
I was taller than all the babies when I was born.
Fine, a tall little David.
Giant children.
It'd
Anyway.
be really hilarious
Young
if you married
Davids.
someone really
The
short.
pituitary
Yeah.
gland is working on overdrive.
Anyway, these are excellent resources. I highly recommend them to people that are in this particular part in their lives. But to actually rear it back into raising children without religion, is it like... One thing that I remember my parents doing was we had a lot of books that were like, read to your kids about fantasy, and especially about mythology. Because it kind of... I think it was Tracy Harris from the atheist community of Austin. She brought up this... If I'm saying the wrong person, I apologize. But it was just like, it's a way to inoculate them to myths and superstition. If they just kind of like, see, these are what people used to believe, and then you seamlessly transition, and this is what people believe now. And it's just like, most children will just kind of go like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's another one, it's like, it was a game that a parent played with their kid, also in the atheist community of Austin. The Atheist Experience is an excellent podcast. I recommend. But it's like, real or pretend. It's just a game you would play with like a 3 to 4-year-old. You'll just be like, is SpongeBob real or pretend? And it's
SpongeBob
like,
is real.
It's like, especially at that age, they'll probably say it's real. And it's like, oh, it's like, not really. He's a character on TV, remember? And then just have them think the stuff out and ask them why. After just kind of like,
But
Are
eat a
rainbows
SpongeBob
real or
popsicle.
pretend or
He's
something?
real.
I know, but it's a game. It's just have your kid think critically about stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that I imagine in these sort of books they'll have a whole lot of those sort of things. Also, it activates imagination. It encourages it if they're just like, here's a whole lot of interesting fantasy that people have invented.
Milkshakes.
Yep. But as opposed to those milkshakes, my milkshakes do in fact bring all the boys to the yard.
And they're like... it's
Mine are
better than
definitely better.
yours.
I would teach you all, but I'd have to charge.
Here's $10.
Okay, so we had to do that once. Alright, we're nearing only 15 minutes left. If anyone wants to call, the lines are still open. Call us at Drex Freethought on Skype. You can also join the chat whenever you feel like, or email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com.
What are you
What?
laughing at?
Ellen's just like, excuse me, who are all these boys? For anyone else that's actually glancing at the chat, I'm dating the Sparrow person.
The sparrow person.
She goes by Sparrow 10 UK.
So intra-species relation?
What?
Wait, is she
Ew.
British?
So you date
Oh.
sparrows.
There's so many things wrong with that.
Why is it wrong?
He's
this
questioning
big.
everything.
Sparrows are about this big.
Let's not go into this.
Not kidding.
Literally, let's not go into this.
Don't talk about
Oh, I
No,
hate you all.
serious.
milkshakes, cheese, and sparrows are the next choice.
Okay,
This woman married the Eiffel Tower.
What?
This woman married the Eiffel Tower.
Officially?
Yes.
That wouldn't fit in there.
She sits
That's
on the
nasty.
ledge without like underwear on. She's like, ah.
Oh my.
Really? That seems inappropriate.
All right,
She's sexually attracted to the Eiffel Tower.
Apparently that's a thing.
Yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
it's black.
Oh.
Why do we bring you anywhere?
That weird part of YouTube is kind of manifesting. All right, back to growing up atheist and rational thought and all that.
This is very
Good
irrational
stuff.
thought.
Yeah, it is.
I wanted to ask you. Now I've started hearing about this thing called what's called like a humanist church, and it's all the benefits of having a church.
Well, you're asking me directly, okay.
Yeah, like a church.
We
Congregation,
actually have
etc.
a Unitarian church in Philadelphia.
Uh-huh.
It's very close by,
Uh-huh.
and I've been there a few times. And they hold all sorts of interesting discussions. The pastor there is Pastor Nate, I believe,
Okay.
and he's an extremely nice guy.
Is he an atheist?
Is there any religious affiliation?
No,
Then why do they call it a church and he's a pastor?
This is where people co-op stuff. Just because religious folk tend to use these terms doesn't mean they own them.
But isn't a church where Christians go and a pastor
Okay,
is
so a
religious?
Unitarian outhouse with a dude that manages it. It doesn't matter what words you use. It's a building where people get together and talk about stuff. But that kind of still has religious aspects. Like, it's very wishy-washy spiritual.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Right,
It still encourages
Right.
goodwill about people.
Right.
But if you want to go even more into the non-theist spectrum, secular humanism. The Ethical Humanist Society of Philadelphia is also here in Philadelphia. It's on Rittenhouse Square, and I'm officially a member.
Uh-huh.
Their motto is Deed Before Creed.
Okay.
And they are openly non-theist.
Uh-huh.
Not saying that they don't let religious people in. Anyone's allowed in, but they value the inherent worth of people,
Yes.
and it extends to other animals. But it's like they value life and good deed,
Right.
and they don't have any dogma.
Mhm.
They don't have anything.
dogs? What?
But they discuss stuff.
Right.
Like every Sunday, they have a platform. And they
Right.
discuss something, and there's a talk afterwards, and it's really cool. And
Okay.
I recommend both places, at least to stop by.
Because I feel like the one thing that is kind of the word you use, co-opt in with religion is kind of like the community that comes with it, and
that's what suckers people in.
Yes,
and it's especially one thing that the Ethical Humanist Society does is it actually takes in a lot of ex-religious people, because if you're raised in a religious community your entire
Right.
life, then you will miss that community.
Yeah.
Unless you just really hate people, and that's why you stop being religious. But anyway, Richard, put your hand down. But that's the thing, is that you can get all of the... It's been colorfully named the religion for non-religious people.
Right. Well, I mean, because I was talking to my my friend whose sister has just graduated college, and she got a job in the city where she got a job in Chicago and she knows absolutely nobody, and everyone in her company is way older than her. So my friend was thinking, she's like, how is she going to meet other people her age or whatever? And honestly, the only thing I could think of was through a church or something. That was the only thing I could think of.
That was actually the thing that was brought up on one of the podcasts I listened to. Is that is such an easy thing. You can move into any town in the U.S. and you will find a church.
Oh yeah.
And you will find a church that you could go to. Mm-hmm. And it's rising in other religions as well. Because people just keep building more buildings. Mm-hmm. But this is why ethical humanism is an outlet for all those social needs and progressive ideas.
Right, but I mean, I wouldn't mind going to my parents
I go
actually.
there every other Sunday.
Really? Okay.
As much as I can.
Sure. I mean,
it's on the calendar.
My parents took me to a Unitarian church after we left. The first 2 Christmas Eves after we stopped going to, the Catholic church. We went to this Unitarian church for Christmas Eve. And the first one, it was a little bit more aimed towards. We went to the children's one or whatever, and it was. Like,
I think the Unitarian Church here has like a children's
yeah,
thing.
like, and they had like a thing, like it was like, oh, dress up like a shepherd or a king or whatever, and like, you know, you can be like that sort of thing. And then they played the Charlie Brown Christmas song, and then and then I remember the one when I was in 4th grade. We went to the later one, and there was this thing where you they lit the candles or whatever, and you like pass the candle around. And they're like watch the flame, and like how it lights everyone's faces and stuff. So.
Yes.
And then watch the hot wax get sprayed in your face.
Yeah. I don't really remember that.
We don't recommend that, unless you like that.
No, but I would be
Some
interested
people-
in seeing
Whatever.
seeing that sort of and going to that sort of thing
It's
just
like
to see
Dante's
if,
been to the Ethical Society a few times.
or even the Unitarian Church, because I know a lot of people who are non-religious, you know, would choose to do that
It's
instead
like
of
it's like they're not hiding.
yeah,
They're very open.
right,
And it's a when it going to like atheist parenting or raising children without religion, that these sort of organizations can be found in a lot of different places
Right.
and communities. And if not, you can start your own. And it's not it's difficult, but it's possible. And this allows you to get the social outlet, allows your children to be exposed to a larger community. And I say it would be a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I mean that's
I
the
have a
thing. Like,
question. Is raising your children atheist or not religious the best way to raise your children?
I don't say there's a best way to do anything.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to raising children, because
It's-
every child is
yeah.
different.
I would kind of say, like, it is a bad thing to indoctrinate your children with a religion.
Or
Now, how to-
non-religion.
No, I would say, no, like, I wouldn't say that necessarily. But it's just like, because how can you indoctrinate someone to
Be
without
like,
a
oh, we're
religion?
atheists. That's what we are.
No, there's a difference between raising someone with. Actually, no. I don't even know how you would do that.
It's not. I don't.
you are an atheist.
Yeah, like you'd be like, we are
You see,
atheists. You can't have
the
a
child
religion.
would, like, without any kind of punishment or fear brought into it, I would just imagine the kid would just be like, "You're an idiot.
Not every kid's
What are
like
you
that.
talking about?"
I don't think it would be a very good idea to just like say, "Oh yeah," to your child, "There's no God at all." Yeah. So if you ever question that, yeah, no, we're gonna.
Oh
be
yeah,
so
okay,
good.
I can see that. So basically, just indoctrinating your child is a bad idea
To anything.
in general.
Mm-hmm.
But then but then we would say, what's the alternative to that?
Right.
And I would just kind of say that it's like, raise your child to be open-minded and think for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And-
Oh wait, excuse me, David. Oh, somebody was asking how to call in. Just type in Drexel Free Thought on Skype.
Yeah, just Drexel Free Thought, just all one word in Skype, and you'd be able to call in. Unfortunately, we only have like 8 minutes, so you can if you want to call in, give a comment or a question, and we'd finish it up as quickly as we can. But feel free.
No, I forget what I was gonna say. I mean, I guess I would say like in general, like my parents' approach, I think was good. Like they were just kind of chill about everything. They're just kind of like, yeah, if you want to try this out, like it's cool.
Ellen brings up a nice way of putting it. Better to raise a child with no religion either way, neither believing in a faith nor definitely not. Let them choose as they grow up.
We are strict agnostics.
It's like, does God exist? I don't know. That's right. South Park is funny. Sometimes.
all the time.
Did you see an angel? No. That's incorrect.
No, it's like, did I see it? I
you
remember that.
may have seen an angel.
We don't know if it was there. And we only drink, the only things we drink are good agnostic beverages.
Dr. Pepper.
It was Dr. Pepper
Is
and
it
like
root beer? Is it a cola? Is it...
No one knows.
Dr. Pepper's just disgusting.
Isn't it just prune soda?
What about
Isn't that what
It has cherry flavor too.
What about Dr. Fizz
I didn't know there was a Dr. Fizz.
or Dr. Shasta?
Dr. what?
Dr. Shasta.
Oh, no,
They're
Shasta's not a
the
Hopefully, once our
doctor.
caller figures out how to work Skype, they should be calling.
Alright.
Dear God, you may or may not exist, please. Please, if you do exist, please bless this food.
If you don't, never
If you
mind.
don't, then never mind. Anyway, but there's to anyone that is trying to call in, you can also just email us whatever the comment you have, and we'd read it at the end of the show. You can email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com, or you can join the chat on Spreaker if you search for Drexel Free Thought Radio. There's lots of ways to
I
contact
don't
us.
know why
It's
people
up to
don't
you.
read the things I put out. That annoys me.
But it's fine. People can call in whenever they want. You can also just email us at any time during the week, and we get it on the next show. Assuming we don't get overflowed with email. But we're not, so go for it.
Can I get a Google number?
What?
Can I get a Google number?
We can try.
You just usually extend it to someone's cell phone. Like the people won't see your cell phone number.
We shouldn't have it hooked up to... We'll talk about this later. We're up to about 5 minutes left. Does anyone have any particular comments that they weren't able to bring up before?
Milkshakes.
We'll get milkshakes after the show.
Okay, I have one.
Yes, Richard?
If you're an atheist...
Talk
and
much
you're-
louder.
If you're an atheist and
I said
you're
louder.
If you're an atheist and you're ever in a Christian home and they expect everyone to do a blessing on food, this is what you should do. You should say, thank you, Jesus, for the food. You know why? Because the one farmer may have been Mexican, his name might have been Jesus, and
It's
he might have
Jesus.
actually...
Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
I don't even know what's going on anymore.
They're actually, Richard in his horrible, horrible comment, brought up a very good point. When you do need to have your child, it's a really, I don't entirely know how to do it, because I've never been exposed to it before. But it's like you need your child to be respectful of people in their own home, but at the same time not be afraid to call out nonsense. So like I've been in families all the time that pray during their meals, and I'm just
Right.
like, I don't know what to do here.
I usually just immediately start eating.
I just...
No, like
I just go like
I'll just
this.
bow my head, you know.
No, it's
I
like
bow
if-
my
if-
head, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like
no,
I
but
get out of
there-
respect.
it's a mixture of things, though. It's like there is the idea of being respectful, but if then, I think that's kind of how you do it. It's like be respectful of other people's beliefs until those beliefs start interfering with your life in some
Right.
way.
Yeah.
When
So
in
if the parents say like bow your head or get the hell out of the house,
You get the
then
hell out of the house.
Yeah, then you're just like I don't want to be here anymore because you're being a horrible jackass,
So what if I
a
don't pray with
horrible
the family?
donkey.
When in Rome...
You don't have
It's not a curse word.
What?
It's not a
No,
curse
that's a horrible saying.
That is a horrible saying.
Why?
Because what if being the Romans means chopping off people's heads?
Which it
Except
does.
for that.
No, let's do like the French and guillotine
So
everyone.
when in Rome, be like the Romans unless they do something you don't agree with.
Okay, here's the thing. What if
Do you have to
it's
return
something
that
like
cup?
this?
Yeah, I do.
What if I think that psychology is not a real science, but everybody else in that house is like, oh yeah, we love psychology.
you can have
Do
a-
I say that I don't believe that psychology
No,
is science?
this is
or
why. No,
do I
you're
just
allowed to have
say, yeah?
opinions and have a discussion, but you are in the other person's home, and you do have to respect that they invited you in. But that's why it's kind of the thing that I give advice for every reactionary comment ever is somebody's right to punch the air ends at my face. They're allowed to spout as much nonsense as they want until it is something that actually damages either my health or would damage somebody else's.
What if it was more like this? It's like,
It's not
oh,
your
you believe in
face.
psychology. I don't believe that it's a science. I think it's a philosophy, and I think it's
No, if
just
some-
as valid.
No, if somebody's
that bad, or-
if like you find out that the kid, like the parent's daughter or something, is dying from leukemia, and they're just like, all right, time for your water. This is your medicine. Then you'll be like, I'm calling the police.
Well,
Can
yeah.
you do that?
Yeah, and you should.
I'm just wondering,
Remember
is that
the
legal?
story about the two parents that
It's
that
like if you know of a
basically-
child in a desperate situation, you should call the police.
Do you remember the story about the two parents, faith healers, and
Which
that-
one?
A lot.
Oh, well, there was one on TYT where
No, I mean
where-
this happens all the time.
Oh, this guy had diarrhea, and they like prayed and stuff, even though they could have just like
Giving him
the
anti-diarrheal from the
doctor, and
drugstore?
then he died, but they did it again,
An antidiuretic.
and now they're
No, it's
in prison for
anti-diarrheal.
manslaughter.
Antidiuretics are for
That's for urine.
Oh, just
Yeah.
retaining fluid in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Silly biology. But yeah, so until something actually harms another person's life or their own rights, like proselytizing. If I go to a person's house and their
Doing
parent,
what?
no, if I go to a friend's house,
No, proselyte.
proselytizing. Oh, I'll explain. If I go to a friend's house and their parent starts yelling at me about Jesus, and you better believe in Jesus, I'm going to be like, get the hell out of my face. I came here to spend time with your son or something, not be yelled at by their parent. Because it's my right to defend myself.
30 seconds.
Proselytizing is the process of trying to indoctrinate new people into a religion.
I love proselytizing.
Anyway, we have several 20 seconds left. 20 seconds left. Thank you all for listening, and especially thank you for the people in the chat for being so enthusiastic and keeping us entertained. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Please follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, join us, or follow our chats, email us. We're all fantastic. Drexel Free Thought Society. Goodbye.
Milkshakes.